and the City of Tomball will enter into a workshop session regarding the Tomball Economic Development Corporation budget for the fiscal year. And Kelly?
Yes. I switched a spot so I can make it a little bit easier for me to scroll through, and I will try and get through this quickly because I know you'll have a super busy agenda tonight. I just wanted to touch on kind of our 4 primary goals of the EDC. That's business retention and expansion, attraction and recruitment, development and redevelopment of Old Town, and then economic development or education and workforce development. Our funding sources, we are funded by absent sales tax. We're not funded by property tax. And we do have some revenue in our securities and investment pools. You can see our sales tax collections over the years. 2019, we had a large sale in the business park. 2015 was our first sale in the business park, and some of those anomalies you'll see in there correlate to sales within our business park. And this kind of gives you a summary of the land sales. We did talk about this at the recent workshop, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I will note, unfortunately, the pending sale that we have right now for lot 8, that was our last lot in the park. The pending sale was to Trophy Windows, and we were notified this morning that they canceled their contract. They had a meeting with their board of directors, and unfortunately, they wanted to pull back because their sales have been decreasing. The increase in prices and the economy. And so they did a kind of a hard stop on their contract this morning. So just heads up on that one. You will see that being actively marketed. That's the 18.2 acre tract right across the culture. I want to go through just quickly our revenues. So we have a beginning fund balance of about 23 million. We are anticipating 5.1 million in sales tax revenues, about 450,000 in interest revenues. You see, we do not budget for land sales in the park. We don't count our chickens before they're hatched, so we never show land sales until after they're collected. We have total revenue anticipated about 5.50 million and about 28.7 million in total available resources. You can see our expense distribution for our budget. 5% is personnel, 1% is service and supplies. We have about 6% in indirect economic expenses, 6% in city debt service, and 82% of our budget goes to grants and projects. On our administrative expenditures, our salary and benefits, there is an item in there that Mr. Vaughn is going to address, and that will be with regard to proposed salary adjustments. But if you look at our proposed budget, the total administrative expenditures is about 810,000. That includes personnel expenditures, service and supply, as well as your salary and benefits. And that is in your packet. It has the overall budget, so you can see the breakdown in there as well. Under expenditures, we have a total of about $723,965 in expenditures. Those are things like our marketing, our website, printing, advertising, professional services. We do have a new Grow Tomball initiative that we're proposing this year. We've put about $20,000 line item for that. That is to help market and really advertise some of our locally made products, as well as our local entrepreneurs. We carry about $761,000 in debt service. That includes our business park infrastructure, as well as the medical complex in Persimmon. You can see this year we did have the utilities expansion. That's the 2002 CO that dropped off as we did have our last payment. So we have some extra debt capacity there. Our project grants, we have 2.5 million set aside for project grants, and that includes the grants that are already approved yet not funded, as well as anticipated grants based on requests that we know are going to be coming up. And then 70,000 projected for our sales tax reimbursement grants. That's the 380 grants that we're a party to at the Baker Cats, the Fourth Winter Center. Project grants. So we have total grant commitments right now of about $2,261,166. We have about $609,000 in estimated payments for a total of $1.65 in our encumbered funds. We have received a request to budget for some potential city projects that includes Jurgens Park, Matheson Park, South Wastewater Treatment Plant, and then downtown improvements, so the alleys. And we did do a new line item for the alley improvement project. So with those three items, that's $815,000 for just under 2.5 for total project grants. Business improvement grants have stayed at the $350,000, and then our prior year, what we have to budget for is about $250,000. Facade improvement grants are $250,000. The prior year, the rebudget for projects that have been approved but not yet funded, we have $100,000. And then Old Town projects, this is for the alleyways. We're budgeting $600,000 for the Old Town alleyway project. We've also got an item in there for land acquisition, placeholder for $500,000. That's one item that we really haven't talked to the council a lot about, as far as some of the potential projects that council may want us to look at that have to do with property acquisition. So again, that's a placeholder. We may need to change that by doing a budget amendment down the road at some point in the future. We're budgeting $5 million for the South Live Oak redevelopment project. And then we have business park expenses at about $300,000, so 5.8 for grants, loans, and other expenditures. So ending fund balance proposed is $16,490,540. That is kind of the overall. Are there any questions you have on the budget itself? Or any of the line items?
I thought in your proposed one, there was a $4 million set aside for future land acquisition.
We only have the 500,000 set in there.
So that was changed from your preliminary talks that
We
that
have
you
that.
showed a
That
few
was,
weeks ago.
That was in the 2020 budget when we
Right.
bought the South Live Oak property.
Okay.
But until we have some more direction and communication as far as land acquisition, we may need to do a budget amendment down the road.
Okay. Any question? Okay. There is no action to be taken on this budget at this time. Approval or disapproval will happen during the city council meeting, regular city council meeting. So at this time, next on the agenda is an executive session where we'll consult with the city attorney regarding a matter which the attorney's duty requires to be disclosed in the closed session. We will be having our closed session in this room, or can we fit in the conference room? This room. Okay. So we're going to enter into an executive session. Everyone not on the board? The time is 4:45 p.m.
Hey, Mark, it's Bill Sumner. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you guys. I guess I got cut out on the executive session.
Can you hear us now?
Yes,
Okay, y'all would put silence your phones and then we can
So let me.
proceed.
It does silence.
Not ringing.
That's an alarm telling you you're supposed to be somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, Will and Lexi, would you please log off of the Zoom?
Did you need me?
Ben? Jessica, you can stay.
Okay.
All right, we're good.
Okay. All right. So we are here to deliberate appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, and dismissal of public officer, employees, executive director, and staff. And Steve, yes, if you would please and explain, come and explain what is going on, okay? Because you have to remember, all of y'all's money, all the city's money is citizens' money. And so anything that any of us do have to be explained to citizens. Just keep that in mind. And just as council does in any proposal, y'all are under the same rules too, because your money is sales tax and citizen money also. That's where it came from. So.
One nice thing about Tomball, though, all those people that visit here, they pay that sales tax.
Yeah. people-
What I want to do is talk. about-
Yes, you've got the floor.
Sorry, Dave.
Oh, so, because we're not recording, right?
So Bill can hear. Hey, Bill, can you hear me?
now I can.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, good.
You remember last year, we got together and I don't think we were properly prepared to answer the question. Well, how did we come up with those numbers? Well, the answer was research. But we didn't bring our research with us. And we thought that's not very fair. And we also thought it wasn't particularly fair to have our actual employees in on this. And y'all know how hard it is to find good people. I don't know how many vacancies y'all have in the city. I was reading the page, but I was on my bank computer and it blocked out looking for jobs. And so anyway, and I see you are looking for a HR director, is that correct?
Mr. Vaughn, real quick. The one that just got on Zoom, would you please log off? This is an executive session. There he goes. Okay.
Okay. So the best thing to do, first of all, is evaluate your people. And I think that we have one of the best staffs around. When you look how fast our budget's growing, when you look how we're economically sound, And we also know our job is not just to stack money in. Our job is to have a plan of what we want to do and do it with the city's help or vice versa, help the city. We are a team, and that's why none of us mind the debt service that we help pay, you know, that in our budget. It's only normal that it ought to be that way. Back when we started the EDC, Hap Harrington had asked me to get a group, to get an election going to start this EDC. And I told him, I said, Hap, I'll do it only if you promise you're not going to make it just a way to supplement the city so it doesn't have to raise its own sales tax. And he said he promised he wouldn't, and he didn't. And I think it's worked out real well for the city, and it's worked out real well for the EDC. You know, these ladies have gone to school, they have the qualifications, they have the time in place. And then we went out and looked at our neighbors. We looked at Conroe, we looked at, hang on. Do y'all have? Yes, the colored one? Okay. You can see across the top there that looked at Allen, Cedar Park, Conroe, Frisco, McKinney, Pearland, and Pasadena. Those are all comparable, probably sizes of EDCs in our general area. And then they took, we have an operating budget of 4.1 million, and you can see going across those at 3.2, 4.3, 11.9, 14 million, 16 million, and 18 million. We this year are going to be about a little over 5 million. And right now, our executive director makes 134,533. When you go across, you can see those numbers of 160,000, 161, 209, 200, 212, 199, and 230. We're pretty low when it comes to the people that are doing the same jobs within 50 miles of us. And well, not Allen, that's up in Dallas, but we feel that this is an adjustment year. We've been fairly frugal with our salary raises. We try to keep in pace with the city. We talk about what they're doing, but we feel there's nothing worse than having your momentum stop by your person going someplace else, and then we got to start over with a new EDC executive director, figure him or her out, decide if he's going to meet our goals. Of course, that'll be through a lot of interviewing and stuff, but it's just going to stop us. You know, and I know that we probably won't be able to keep up with these ladies. You know, it just depends on where they want to live. But I think right now we can get a few more years out of this relationship. That's why we're proposing to do a salary adjustment on the people. And we want to raise the executive director to 165, which is on the lower end of the spectrum of those other EDCs. The assistant director up to 125, and the education coordinator 75. And we also have an administrative assistant that has not been hired yet, to provide room of about 42,000. And if they're a real crackerjack, maybe as much as 60. So that time will come, and that's the number we're going to think about. I think this is reasonable. I think that statistics don't lie. And I'm not going to tell you that if she doesn't get this raise, she's going to get up and go. I don't know. And that's our thinking. That's not her thinking. And she's never made a threat to any of us that she wants to leave. I think she's got a good thing going here too. Things are working right. They're getting lots of recognition within their own circle, and which is good. But in the long run, it'll be good for some wealthy EDC somewhere to see if they can't talk her into coming to work for them. But that's life. We, in the banking business, you know, you're always bidding for people. And I imagine every one of you have people that work for you that sometimes a real good one's just gonna get pulled away from you for whatever reason. So, but I think that this, I take it back. We think of this will wind up being the right thing. And then from then on, some moderate raises depending on, you know, in the 3% range, if that's what y'all do. Do y'all have any questions about this?
Are we allowed to talk?
Yes.
Ernest? I'm still learning, Steve, as you know. Before I was ever running against Chad, Bill had been lecturing to me on the pay salaries
Uh-huh.
and everything. My only issue is your metrics that you're using the budgets of these towns. These towns are all 10 times bigger than Tomball. The smallest one that you're going against, Cedar Point's an 84,000 population. Allen's 104,000 population. Pearland, Pasadena, you know how big they are, but Frisco's 211,000 population. In my opinion, the budget is given to the people to work with. The people that don't have that big of a budget, to me, their job would be half harder. I agree these people need more than a 3% raise. I'm not going to argue that point. But when you go 39% raise over a year or 22.6% raise, my company would never do that where I came from. You know, 15% was a great raise. Now, again, if you change job titles or change positions, yeah, you could get a bigger bump. And I'm not against giving these people a raise. I think that I could see giving her 40%, but over a period of time. Not, because what happens, Steve, when he finds out we give somebody 40%, is he going to come back and say, hey, I want to be paid the same thing these large towns are paid? What happens with, that's my concern. And I might be the only one up here feeling that way because we're not able to discuss this with anybody.
Well, I know I tended to look more at the budgets.
Well, who gives them the budget?
Huh?
Who gives the budget to the TEDC?
Oh, they formulate their own budget and the projects they want to do. But you can have a town with a lot of people and not much of an EDC.
Yep.
And you know, or it's new, it's just coming on. And that's why I was thinking it's not so much the people, it's the budget that they oversee, because that determines how much work they're going to get done. And
So you think a bigger budget is, I mean, a smaller budget's not harder than a bigger budget?
no, I didn't say that.
Okay, well, I'm asking.
No, I'm saying that when I look for a comparison basis, I look at budgets because there's so many different, look, I was on the EDC when I was in Angleton years ago.
Yes, sir.
And that town's got 12,000 people. It's about the size of Tomball.
Okay.
But it has never really launched. The only project I know they did was they built a swimming pool. And from then on, every time they tried to do something, they couldn't get anything done. They couldn't get a budget together to do. And so it's just kind of sat there unless it's really perked up in the last 6 months. I can't tell you.
I don't know.
But I knew the inside workings, and I know that what's the word? I want to be accurate when I talk here, but there was a lot of people just didn't think it was worth it, didn't think we ought to do it, but they wound up doing it as an aquatic center and on some city-owned land that's right in the middle of town. So it's turned out pretty good. You can Bay City kind of you get, and basically pretty good sized town. Tomball, though, is way more like these towns on this comparison. Most of these are next to big metropolitan areas, just like us, and they want to go. They want to get things done. And this is just one thing that we want to get out of the way. And it's not causing really any strife. It's us that's decided that we need to do the research and pay our people comparably, based on the size of their budget, really. So.
Hey, Dane, it's Bill. Don't
Yes, sir.
look at this as a salary increase. This is an adjustment of salaries because our salary is too low, number one. And it, you know, that we don't want to lose our employees because of that. And there's also a precedent. And I don't remember the guy's name. The guy that was, I called him the mud bug guy, Mike. But they found out that his salary was like $35,000 and they gave him like a $35,000 salary adjustment. This is not a raise, Dane. It's an adjustment of the salaries.
Okay. I can't see that as being just, I agree, the salaries need to be adjusted. I have no problem. I know what those two ladies, Kelly and Tiffany, do. They are great. I have no problem. It's just raising it 22% and they keep the same position, 39% and they keep the same position. That's just hard for me as an ex-manager of people to see. And I mean, maybe y'all do it in Houston Polybank. Maybe you give your people that have been there 2 or 3 years and you give them a 30% raise. But we've never done that in the petroleum industry. And that's, I mean, and again, Bill, I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm just saying to me, it ought to be done a little, some this year, some next year, and break it out.
Well, if you're not saying they don't deserve it, why don't we give it to them, Dane? I mean,
Because it's going to set a heck of a precedent.
we've already got a precedent set by Mike, the mudbug guy, or whatever his position was.
I don't know. I don't know anything about
Mike
Mike's the
Baxter.
mudbug guy.
We gave Mike Baxter a huge salary adjustment 1 year, literally from like 35,000 to 75,000.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we did, because
I'm
we did a
listening.
salary survey and found out nobody that did that job did it for $35,000.
Is that initial hire? You know, hire
No,
money?
after he was here.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Well,
it's.
Before my time.
And the city has done, salary surveys almost every year and adjusted those salaries of those people that were falling behind much more than in some cases I thought it should have been raised. Certainly more than what we see in the private sector. And also we have maintained a 3% raise for our merits almost every year, where private sector was not doing that in some of those lean years. So it works a little differently from what I've seen so far. I am a little concerned about how much it's being adjusted, but I can see both sides.
I can too, but that's my problem. It's just.
Well, but we're only talking about $80,000 on a $5 million budget.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
there's
know.
nobody that's, let me just tell you something. There's nobody that looks out for the money of the taxpayers more than the EDC board. We're on that all the time. And so we wouldn't present this to you if we didn't think that it was necessary and needed.
Well, we've talked about it, Bill. You and I talked about it 6 months ago about raises and whether it should be merit raises or just across the board raises and that kind of stuff. Before I ever thought about running for this thing and everything. And
I can't seem to get through to you that this is not a raise. This is a salary adjustment. The ranges, the city has ranges that they hire employees at, okay? Now, that doesn't have anything to do with us, but what we're doing is we're saying our range of hiring is out of whack. We need to get where we should be. And what we're trying to give them is on the very, very low end of what this big presentation was done on all the different cities in the EDCs. So we didn't even get them up to the middle. We're still on the very low end of what EDC directors and executive directors are paid.
What is Magnolia or Waller or any of those other, or Livingston, or the ones that are not 100,000 plus cities? And what's the revenue of these cities that you chose? I'm just curious.
I wouldn't call Magnolia and Waller comparable to Tomball.
Well,
From an EDC.
Montgomery County is really growing.
What?
Montgomery County, Magnolia is not just little Magnolia. It's
Yeah, but you know why it's
a lot
growing.
bigger. Yeah, it's bigger because of large development.
They'll let anybody go in there and drive a stake in the ground and sell lots. They don't make them do what y'all make them do. And so consequently, you gotta, I know that's not the subject of what we're talking about.
Well, a lot of Magnolia's growth is outside of the city limits of
Yeah,
Magnolia.
Yeah,
So you can't really compare that.
No, I agree with that.
and they can't have an EDC outside.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, I want to thank the board for the EDC coming, because in years past, this was all handled differently. Kelly actually came and gave the presentation, which I'll be honest with you, I never really thought that was fair, because Kelly is not the one that reports to us as council.
I agree.
The board reports to us. They don't report to David or anything. They report directly to us. And I appreciate that you're actually coming this year and presenting this. I do believe there should be a salary adjustment, which it is an adjustment. It's not, and if I'm not mistaken, there's not a 3% raise included in these adjustments. It's straight salary adjustment.
They've got 0% raise.
They got a 0% raise.
Yes.
0% raise. It's just
I
a
didn't know
straight
that.
salary adjustment.
Oh, I know, I'm talking about, okay, never mind.
We're not proposing a raise.
Additional. on top.
But
So-
when the city does theirs and they do the salary survey and we adjust it, typically, I think they still get, we say, okay, your job should be 50,000 instead of 40, we're gonna raise you to 50, and then you're gonna get 3% raise.
Yeah.
So if we said not.
So-
to that.
Can I just clarify?
Yes,
Yes, please.
The 3% is a COLA. It's a cost of living adjustment. It's
Mhm.
not a raise.
Yeah.
It's not a raise.
It's not, because we've got CPI at, right now at 10%, so it's not a raise. And the salary survey adjustments that we do, I've got it right here, I mean, we look at our comparable cities. We shoot for 85 percentile of our comparables, so we're not trying to be the highest, we're not trying to be the lowest, we're trying to be somewhere in between. And so that's how we come, we haven't done a raise for a number of years. We've just done COLAs and we've done salary adjustments just to keep up with the market.
What cities do you use to be comparable?
Our comparable cities are Pearland, Woodlands, Conroe, Webster, Friendswood, Stafford, Jersey Village, Bel Air, Humble, Katy, and West U.
So Pearland is on there. It's the 20th ranked city in Texas.
Conroe.
And,
Conroe's the 44th.
and of that comparison, David, that you showed, do you see comparison salaries for
We do,
EDC
for
directors?
EDC, yes. Now, not all of our comparables have EDCs. Pearland, Woodlands, Conroe, Webster, Friendswood, and Stafford are the ones that have comparables.
Right, and that's
They're
the same
on.
cities are right in this.
Yes, sir.
For just the EDC.
And are these the numbers you're seeing in those
No,
comparables?
no, ours recommendation was that, or not recommendation, but what the salary
Adjustment.
company looks at
Yeah.
is the adjustment, the only adjustment looked at with what we were doing with the 3 range adjustment plus the cap at 3,000 was Kelly. The others were out of range. Meaning they were past their recommended range, so there was no adjustment there needed.
Kelly who? Our Kelly?
Yes,
Okay. That was last year, wasn't it?
no, that's the proposed budget this year.
Okay.
And if you take a look at our administrative assistants, I mean, the responsibilities and job duties, of that is truly, that one's easy to compare across the board. This one says 42,000, ours says 36.
Now, is that information ever shared with us as council? Because I can honestly say I've never seen it. I know I'm
Yeah.
told about it, but I've never seen it. But it's hard for me to compare as a council person if I don't ever see this information.
We need to make this available to council.
We absolutely can. There's,
So if I'm understanding that, that survey says that this number should be adjusted by 36,000.
No.
What are you saying?
so. let me look. So the adjustment here is 6,152. And that one, if we stayed with the same theory that we have, and that's just cost to, compression versus times in service adjustment. So that would have been capped at 3,000 like we do the other employees,
So what would it be?
3,000.
That would be her salary her comp, whatever you're gonna call it.
Adjustment.
Okay. But it didn't call for any kind of adjustment at all.
That's the adjustment.
That was based on what she was making already.
Correct.
But it was 6,000, but you capped it
They
there.
capped it.
So how, these are surveys, these are from surveying companies that do this. How come we're so different?
I don't know. Not knowing the what they use to do their survey, I don't know. I can tell you how the company that we utilize, we do each employee does a survey. They write down all of their job duties and functions, and then they compare the job description to that. Then we funnel that information into a matrix. They come up with the comparable job title and compare with other cities with the same type of duties and responsibilities that they have. And then you compare those pay scales. It's not a job title to job title because it varies from city to city. And so you have to look at the duties and the responsibilities of the position to come up with the comparable job title that it's equivalent to another city.
Well, you say y'all do, you try to do 85% or 85 percentile of the total of the competing salaries. Well, that's pretty close to what we're proposing.
Well, the 85 percentile is whenever you compile all of the different comparable cities and you rank them from the highest ones that pays to the lowest one, we try to be in the 85th percentile.
And
We're
that's
actually
what,
on
and
the
that,
lower end of the spectrum. We're not even- we're at 165 and the range is 161 to 227.
I just don't know how it comes up with those numbers. I can just tell you what I have.
We haven't seen that. either.
well, we believe these numbers on other cities to be true. We didn't call them and ask them.
No, it was pulled by, I agree with you, they're true, but where you're getting your metrics from is what I'm confused about. When you're talking cities 10 times bigger than you, and then you're saying just the budget's what you're going off of.
That's right.
We had, Dane, we had 20 pages of a report that was confidential that we used to take the one-page report we gave you. Okay, and we were not allowed, if my understanding is correct, to give you that whole report. And matter of fact, the papers that you have to give back to us because that can't get out. And this was done by a large firm out of New York.
A lot of numbers.
And this wasn't picked out of our ears. This was a big EDC report.
And then also, just to throw it in here, in the bottom left down there, that is from the state of Texas. of salary ranges based on, let's see, wait a minute, let me get it right. Oh, the blue part, this middle blue part gives population,
Yeah, that's the one I saw too.
yeah, and budget range. And then it comes back with a low, medium, and a high. And that supports what we're trying to do too. Yeah, I don't spend all my time trying to figure out what other EDC people make. But I take a report and then we look and see.
Okay, now what you just said, I'm confused on, maybe I misread it, because I thought Tomball went from 10,000 to 25,000, which would been, the median would be 105,000 for executive director. And our executive director is making 135,000, 434. And then when you go down to the high, it's 110 for the same size population. Am I right, or am I reading that wrong?
Here we go about
It's
looking.
1 million to 2.5.
I'm not worried about the budget now. I'm talking about population. That's what he's talking about.
So when you look at population, we have a larger police department than you would for 10 or 12,000.
How does the salary, I don't know, Richard, but how does the salary range for that work for the police chief? Is he paid in the upper, or is he paid?
By how much? Because we have so many more people come into town, looking at just the population doesn't make sense, because most people with only 10,000 people don't have a business partner that made all the money they made. So that's where it gets very hard to, like, we're in the school district, 150,000, that's how many people think they live in Tomball. And so those are the people spending the money, those are the people shopping here, those are the people driving through. The reason we have more police than a normal 10,000 person town is because we have more than 10,000 people driving in our city.
Well, we were up at the Texas Municipal League, and they were talking about the different things the EDCs do, and they do a lot of great things. Their fact, they even tell them about how that when they bring a business in, they tell you, you've got to have 75% of your people living in our city to be able to get this money. And I've never seen us do anything like that either.
Don't need to.
They don't live here.
No.
90% of them don't even live in the city limits.
Yeah.
Spend money.
Spend money.
Obviously, you see the number.
Maybe, yeah, that was at a TML conference that EDC needs to be, when you're looking at how many jobs they're bringing in, if they're not living in this area, then it really doesn't count.
Who came up with that?
TML, it was in a meeting on TEDCs that we were at.
I'm not
And that
sure.
was right. So,
Oh, but we get a lot of sales tax revenue from people that live outside. the
Well,
city.
sure, with all
Yeah.
the,
Yeah, and
the great
this is
festival.
just
The
incentives.
great
that would make a lot of
festivals.
sense if we were funded by.
Well, this is incentives. It was incentives on jobs. It's in there, just to
No,
be sure the
they
jobs
bring
are
in
from people
festivals
who are
and all that
living in Tomball. But that's another issue.
Sound like they need to be talking to the
It looks like we are already 20 minutes over of our next meeting. When I saw this appear on the agenda, I said, there's no way we're gonna finish all this in 30 minutes. And so we have 5 o'clock agenda is 20 minutes late, and we have to get that pit agenda finished before we start our 6 o'clock.
I'm in favor of continuing with that.
So,
I am too, because I want to.
so if
I
we
know they
need to
need
get
to
together and exchange
adjustment.
information, it sounds like we need more information to come to some type of consensus. Is this I guess one of the questions is Kelly leaving? Has she talked with y'all? You said that she hadn't talked about leaving. Is this being done to raise this up? So in the future, the raises are tied to like the 3% the city does?
exactly.
Is that why you're doing this? Because that's a consensus that the board has now?
Yes.
She hasn't been, she's obviously undercompensated currently,
Well,
so we're trying to get her to offset with.
that's,
adjustments
that's, you know, that's opinion of a lot of different people, you know.
Chad, you've been around longer than anybody here for us. I'm concerned.
So-
What's your opinion on this? I want to hear everybody's opinion. I know what Bill's is.
I think the numbers show that she's,
I do too.
and,
the data we got was pretty good. So it's really, I think you'll see that it, and then, David, I saw a little bit from the city and I didn't really understand,
Right.
you know, I really don't know what. But we compared EDC to EDC to EDC right now, and we are on the low side, very low. So the question is, do we do something about it or not do something about it?
Well, I think something needs to be done about it. I think Tiffany's on the low, way low compared to anybody. And then Kelly does an outstanding job. I have no problem doing something. It just, that shocked me when I saw a 39% adjustment. I'm sorry.
I would say another thing that I've observed is, you know, we talk about town size and budget. We're doing big, scary projects like $5 million, you know, we have $28 million in assets. We bought a $5 million building. We did a multi-million dollar business park. So we're not doing the school playground as the EDC. These are, when you look at who we're interacting with, it's high level. If you look at Love and Industrial, that was a $50 million deal. So we're gonna have to have somebody that knows how to manage, you know, potentially big projects. We have another one that's come through that talking to very, very high level. So, you know, Kelly fills that role. We all know that. And it doesn't mean, I mean, everybody's replaceable, right? We all know that. But, you know, but we know that she does a really good job managing a range that a lot of people don't do well. I mean, there's a skill set there that is pretty unique.
Well, I think they both are great. Now, this is not against them.
Yeah.
This is what she started off the top about the city of Tomball.
Right.
What the people are going to say if they ever got out. We made a salary adjustment of 39%.
Right.
What's David's team going to say?
Right.
And that's where I'm worried about.
Well, and that's valid, and that's why we're here.
And I'd
Because
like
it
to
is-
make a recommendation that we continue this in a workshop format. It's not going to be,
But we do in a workshop format, anybody can sit in there.
okay, executive session workshop format again, that we call another one of these. If there's more information that people need, they can get the information then and share it. So
Can I ask a question to
5:35,
clarify me since I'm a
5:25.
baby?
Okay,
Can I talk to him sidebar on things like that without being in the executive? No, if I want to talk to Steve or if I want to talk to Bill,
But I mean, I think we should continue on this meeting because
I do
those
too.
conversations that you're having, that you would have with them, I think we all need to be part of.
we have a scheduled 5 o'clock meeting that is now 5:25.
I didn't schedule that.
Well, I asked for this
I'm
to be
attending a
earlier.
4:30 meeting that I was asked to attend.
Right.
I think we need to continue with this and not put this off.
So we want to cancel. Well,
yeah.
okay, the PID people, they are here for presentations.
Yeah, so,
And,
so those.
to start the city council
we can
meeting,
start the
6:30?
other meetings
Okay.
later.
So that means we'll just go a lot later on city council. and We'll keep the people out there that are going to be there at 6.
Go to work in the morning, I'm fine.
Go to work in the morning.
I go to work in the morning, so I can be here till then.
All right, so if y'all, we need to, I think we need to let the PID people know. If you would tell them, because they've been waiting 25 minutes, that it may be 6:15.
Okay. I
And
mean,
then
I don't
we're
mean
gonna
be
have to
rude,
let the
but I don't know
people-
who's tried to schedule 2 meetings before our regular council.
I didn't. I
So-
did not. And this was not on the agenda. The
What do you mean
salary
it's not on there?
adjustment, it is on there now, but it was put on there about a week or so ago. And and I said, this is gonna be too much to put on the agenda. We need to make it 4 o'clock. And then I was told it couldn't be at 4 o'clock because it already had been posted or something, so. So it was too much to do in 30 minutes.
Amen.
And it needed to go back to 4 o'clock, but I was told that couldn't be done, so.
Well, our understanding was 4:30, we had an hour and a half. So that's what we did.
Okay. You've been here, you know what we're doing. That's the reason I was asking Chad about things. I'm still the baby here.
So if you had to go out today and hire a new executive director, who do you think you have to pay to attract?
How much would we pay
How much would you have to pay someone to attract them?
to get a ring dinger, good experience?
Which is what I think we have.
I do.
15 years.
I do. And these are people that are working for these kinds of cities. They're not working for Bay City. They're not working for them.
Mhm.
They're the lower cut kind of folks.
Mhm.
And I'm not trying to bad mouth that, but I'm just telling you that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And, but I guarantee you, if we pull from this pool right here, we're probably looking at least 150. For a really good.
At the low.
That's at the low end, I think. I
Yeah,
think you're
probably
looking
so. Yeah, probably.
closer to
Yeah,
20.
I would say that if we were going to get a real wing dinger, it'd be $200,000 to get
180,
to come in and do what they're doing.
Because it all depends, do we want to train one or do we want to have one that gets going? That's, and you can get a person with all the attributes, but they don't know how to really do it. You know, and we've trained these ladies for 12, 15 years. And they really do a good job. And I know that's not a contention. It's just. how
But-
much.
But historically, I mean, that they started at ground zero. I mean,
Oh,
they,
yeah.
I mean, and they've grown with the program. And the proposal is that their salaries hasn't grown with that program.
Well, yes, there was a lot of pressure on the salary for years
Yeah,
under Wood.
yeah,
Remember the
yeah.
Kelly was scared to get a raise.
And
Yeah.
if this adjustment is done, I want to go back to that 3% because that's never been how it's been in the past. And so if this type of adjustment is done, is that going to be part of y'all's policy in TEDC to match the raise percentages of the city going forward?
No, not as a policy.
Okay,
Because
so there's
that's not a
no,
policy, John.
well, we have a percentage raise that, you know, is usually done,
David says it's not a raise.
The cost of living.
adjustment, a cost of living adjustment.
But I will say, one thing about our salary adjustments we do as a city, and this has gone on for years, and in my opinion, it needs to stop right now, where the EDC has somewhat been treated as a redheaded stepchild by the city. And I know it was going on when George was here. George, for whatever reason, Kelly used to attend meetings with the other department heads. She was asked to stop attending those meetings. And the EDC was basically split off. We as council are the ones who control that. And we've talked about it in our budget or our workshop that we had, where I feel as though we need to get back on the same page where we're all one. Because we're all working towards the same goal. And, you know, and like I said earlier, I appreciate the board showing up today because that tells me a lot about what you guys do and how much you value Kelly and Tiffany and is it Tori? And that, because those are your employees. They report to you. They don't report to us.
But you've seen them in action.
I have seen them. I was president of the EDC for a period of time.
Yeah.
And I've seen where we've come over 13 years. And here in the city, you know, when I first came on council, we were a donut and Tomball was the whole. We had all the development going on around us, nothing in the center where Tomball was located. And that was one of the goals that we had as council, was to get development going here in Tomball. And it was a joint effort. EDC started doing things and funding projects. We as a city started doing things to attract residential subdivisions. And we've got that growth going on. And I think a town of 10,000, 12,000 people, I think we're sitting very good today where we were 12, 13 years ago. But a lot of our growth and really a lot of our tax revenue comes from people outside of Tomball, in my opinion. We get a lot of it from the south side, a lot from the north, Waller, those areas where those people come in town. And we need to continue developing and growing because let me tell you, businesses are looking to build out on the west side of town. HEB's bought property out there. once they open, those people are no longer coming into town. So we need to continue our programs to attract businesses and primary jobs. And in my opinion, once those jobs are here, people are going to shop here before they go home. If they don't live in the city, they're going to go to the grocery store, shop, then go home. Because once they get home, they don't want to leave. And I think we need to work together as a group. And if they're underpaid, we need to bring them up to what we feel is the right salary for them. And same way with the city workers or themselves. If they're not being compensated, we need to make sure they're compensated fairly for the positions that they're in. And, you know, and I'm going through it myself right now. I'm trying to hire an estimator. And I can tell you what I paid for an estimator a year ago, and I'm not paying that today. I'm paying more. And that's just how it is. And they can demand it. And I'm having to pay it if I want it. And they're top people. I mean, I'm not, if I paid what I was paying a year ago, I'm probably going to get somebody that in 3 months I'm going to fire, and all that money's been wasted.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's what worries me about losing this team that we've got. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
arguing that point. one
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, do we have to do it 39%? I don't know if we have to do that. It's a group decision what we have to do, but I do think we need to do something.
Well, I agree with that.
Let me ask one question. I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead.
I know we've said, well, how would you like to tell the citizens of Tomball that we gave those salaries? Wouldn't bother me. Because I know where we're coming from. Now, if they don't like what we did, they can appear at our meetings and tell us that.
They'll tell us that because council's the one that's approved this.
I'm sorry, what?
Council's the one that's approves y'all's budget.
Well, they're gonna
And
look
so
for somebody.
They're gonna look at council.
And I'm fine with that. I've never made a
But
decision.
see,
I
I'm
can't
not
go
worried
out
about
and-
what the citizens say as much as I am about what the other employees say. Now, you said something that made a lot of sense, that we base it on we're larger here because of the outstanding areas. But what about public works and all the other positions?
That's not our problem.
But it's mine.
You know, that's right. That's wow. And salary adjustments, y'all need to do your homework and be able.
Well,
to
that's
bring
what
up-
I thought I'd done. You made me feel like a dummy.
No, I mean, you know, we have positions throughout the city that some of them are what I call positions that one person leaves, you can go out and fill it with another person. They may not make the top salary. But then we also have other key positions within the city that we want to have the top people in those positions. Such as, you know, I'm just going to name a few: finance, public works,
Yeah.
directors, people like that. David, you know, we want to have the top people, and I'd like to know that we're hiring the best of the best for our
I'm not
city.
arguing that.
But I also know you have to pay for it.
David, what's your salary range you're offering for the new HR? I read it, I just can't remember.
Derek, can you mute it? We're getting scratchy feedback. I think is that Derek's?
I
That
see
was
his
muted.
picture.
Thank you.
How
Okay.
can it be me? I wasn't even on. I'm not saying a word. I'm just sitting here listening.
So HR
Are you
director,
sick?
I keep getting Derek's picture.
HR director pay range is 120 to 160.
To 150,
To 160 max.
160.
Yeah, 120 to 160.
You know, I don't know how many people the HR directors have working for. I'm guessing, what, 5 or 6?
Yeah, 6 or 7. Well, if you count the front desk people, then she's up to maybe 10 or 12.
Okay.
I would like to say this first page, we have where the prices are, the salary. This is A, B, C, D, E, F. My understanding, I believe these are all the kind of the real numbers locally. So it's not a salary description comparison from one organization generically to another, trying to make heads or tails of it. It's my understanding that these numbers are real numbers around from cities you will recognize that are comparable
Well, out of that pool.
Yeah.
But all the benefit adjustments based on the salary raises have been put into your budget also? You know, like the retirement and the health insurance? Is that in your
Yes, ma'am.
budget? Okay, that's in the number of 157. And your salary survey adjustment of 83,645 is what? That's the main pay, or is that the pay plus the benefits? I'm looking at your budget under administrative, salaries administrative, 287, 810, benefits, 157, 830, 55, 8,300, wages, others, salary adjustments, 83,645. So the benefits of 157, 830, that has been included in your budget based on this, on
It's
the,
based, your salary drives your benefit.
I know it. I don't want to know if your benefits number on this increase is in your budget. Yeah. I was just asking because, you know, whenever you pay someone $1, it really costs you $1.30, $1.40. Actually, the city is what? $1.40? It's about 40% in benefits. By the time we do the defined benefit, 35%. So for every $1, it's $1.35. And I just wanted to check the numbers if they're in there or not. And then the personnel expenses, travel, training, seminar, those are all the non-taxable benefits that you're at payroll, which is normal. That's what everybody does.
Phone allowance.
Yeah, I just wanted, and then the education and all of the certifications, TEDC paid for all of that too, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's part of it too. Okay,
So if we take it to this proposed number, what do you think we'll have to do next year?
Next year?
Yeah.
Be the end of a big adjustment. Talking about, and I can't say, but I wouldn't think it'd be. I don't know what kind of year.
But you think this proposed adjustment would get us to a comparable level where we wouldn't have to
That's what it says.
address this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel this is an advised and consent scenario here. I mean, you know, we're not opposed to y'all's opinions. I mean, it's not, I don't feel like I'm here to say, man, I'm gonna die on my sword on this budget.
Right.
I don't feel
Right.
that way. I feel like the data, this data, at least I feel like it's good. It's pretty solid.
Mhm.
So now it's like, what are we gonna do about it? And if Kelly did leave and we went out, we could get our checkbook out then. That'd
Yeah.
be real
That's true.
sad.
Yeah, that's
That'd be
why,
real sad.
that's why I asked that
You know what I'm
question.
saying?
And, you know, Gretchen, your explanation of why we look at the budget versus population made a lot of sense to me as well, because you could have a big population and not a lot of activity. And so, but we've got a lot of activity and, you know, we want more, we want to keep it coming. And so how do we ensure that we keep that ball rolling? So it makes a lot of sense to me. It is, you know, I wish we'd have done some of this over time. But I also understand some of the dynamics of the George Shackelford period when there was friction there. And so I understand that. And so, I mean, I would be okay with it.
Well, as Mark said, he had to hire an estimator. He had to pay him a lot more when he did that. So think of it the same way with us. If we had to hire somebody, and this Jorgensen report, which is a huge consulting firm, they went out and this was like a 20-page report we had. We tried to make it down to a 1-page report to keep it simple, but these are the figures. They were from 161 to like 220, and our director is making $134,000. So what if she left? Now how much are we going to have to pay to get somebody to come back in and be as good as Kelly. Is it going to be 200, 220? But I appreciate the fact that you're looking at our budget, and you're right. For a small town, we have a pretty big budget, and we do a lot of things. The industrial park, we've got Live Oak. We're looking at First Baptist Church. We're looking at helping with downtown, the new sewer plant. So we're doing a lot of different things that our ladies are very, very much looking outside the box. So I think we really need to compensate them and keep them.
Yeah, and Bill, you're not gonna hire a new EDC director for 134.
Well, you might, but it may not be much.
Better drop it down. $1 million budget.
I can't do what they do.
I was gonna say, John, if we came in here with the budget with a little bit of raise and then she left, we'd be sitting in here. You
Yeah.
guys would be looking at us like, weren't y'all paying attention?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
So we.
It's a
we stand
state.
With our hands in our pocket, like, whoops, you know, so I don't know, we're putting it out there as like trying to deal with it.
Would she be,
And I would say one other thing, I think we're on the front end of this that's gonna sweep through, even on the city side. What it's taken to get people right now, it's just a different number than you can conceive of.
Yes,
I've seen it myself. And, you know,
we're
it's
seeing
gonna
it.
take a while to get used to.
We're seeing it at the hospital.
would it be amenable to do it over 2 years, 15%, 15%? Not least, Kelly maybe not take a job for 2
Why
years.
would
So,
why would we want
just for the, basically it's a golden handcuff to tie her there. She wouldn't, she left us.
think she needs.
to? She doesn't need to go.
So when you mentioned that you didn't know if she was leaving, has there been discussion of that? Or I guess maybe you can't.
No,
tell
there
us.
hasn't.
No.
There hasn't. I want to tell you, there hasn't.
Okay.
It's, Stephen, I would just say, before we just dismiss it out of hand, let's think about that for a minute. Is that a, you know, is that an idea we want to really think?
That sure would be palatable, more palatable to me. We're doing,
With the idea that this is coming and that's.
it's
coming.
definitely gonna be a 2-year deal.
But flip side is we go through the trauma twice.
Why would you go through drama?
No, you
We're saying
make an
yes, it's a
agreement now.
definite deal. You make an agreement now.
But then you also have to account to the taxpayers next year while you did it again. We can say, oh, well, it's a deal we made.
Based on
It's just be, this is more like ripping off a Band-Aid. Like when we had to do
I
a
don't
tax
see that.
increase.
I don't
Do
know.
we want to do 3% this year, 4% next year? Or do we just rip off the Band-Aid and do 6%, get it done, and we're not talking about tax increases for another 5 to 10 years? So, I mean, again, it doesn't matter to me which way we do it, but that's just.
But salary promises, I personally don't like them. You know, I could not be here next year. And she could have a
It's
contract.
in the
with
salary, it's an
city and all that.
adjustment.
Let's just do it. God, man.
It's an
80,000
adjustment.
and a big budget like that.
I'm not worried about you. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the repercussions with, not the citizens. I'm more repercussions of his team and his group.
Can I just ask a question on that? Why does the guy in Public Works know what other people?
You don't think this will get out? That they got,
But it's better not, it's an executive
I've
session.
heard that before, and I've heard what's gone on in executive sessions.
Well, then those people.
Well,
shouldn't
those
be talking.
people shouldn't be talking.
Because like
You know-
when we raised Mike Baxter, nobody knew it was done.
You know, we've been through this before where we made salary adjustments and it was not from our side that the word got out. But we had a lot of employees that were very upset that Kelly and her team got what they got compared to what our employees got. So we've got a history of this kind of stuff getting out, whether it's from TED side or from wherever it got out. I have some grave concerns of times being hard for everyone, getting good people to stay employed with us. Kelly certainly and her team deserve a raise. I have no issue with that. But when what you do for one, you got to do for all, because everybody is putting themselves on the line out here for us as employees for the city. And if you don't think they're not gonna start looking, if it gets out, you probably ought to look back at your crystal ball again.
Well, and David, with the city side, what kind of adjustments are we doing there?
We're doing a 3 pay range adjustment, so some of the salary survey, and I'll share that with you. Some of them needed more, but we try to hold that line because it is $1 million hit to the budget. And so typically a 3% for us, COLA is about $400,000. And so this year I presented, it was just over $1 million, so 1.1 million. I think that's why it does come off just completely off page, because you guys don't understand the way our philosophy is for how we approach the salaries, and then I don't understand or what they use to do that. They may be going after the top. We're trying to hold the line. That is, and I'll be honest with you, everything that you guys are saying right here is absolutely what I see too. To try to hire the right people, it is really, really tough. And what I go back and tell them, I said, look, guys, this year we need people. So we're gonna forego making huge adjustments because I gotta bring you some help. So 30 new positions coming in. I mean, you talk about, and based on the revenue that we're getting in our, all of it, sales tax, property tax, I gotta make that work. You just can't just go up there and raise that. So the philosophy behind this, I think, and it's not anything wrong versus the other one, they're not matching up. And it's hard when it's the day that it's going to be approved to answer any of these questions because we're just not matching up.
Well, let me ask you this, David. Unfortunately, we have a lot of experience here the last 2 years hiring department heads.
Yes, sir.
And when we send out those announcements, what this pay range is, where are we coming in as those starting salaries?
With the exception of one, finance, I went higher than our hiring range. So the way we typically have done things, and it doesn't mean we should be doing this. We don't really go by dependent on qualifications. We go by the range is, for example, her 120 to 160 is the range. The hiring range is the beginning or up to 5%. And that's it. That's typically what, so we can have room for growth there. And so if you try to get somebody with a lot of experience, they're obviously making way higher than that already. And so they're not going to take a pay cut. She did take a pay cut from West Virginia. But we balanced the fact that she's not going to have to drive all the way down there. And she lives in Magnolia. So she took a pay cut to come here. Mm-hmm. And so in some of them, we've been lucky. That one, I did have to go past that 5% just to get her here.
What about our new public works director?
Our new public works director is right about the 5%. Higher range, above beginning.
Compared to the one we got that lasted 2 weeks, the one we're getting, what's the price difference? You don't know, don't worry about it.
I do. I do. Yeah, it was about 10,000 a year.
One thing from what to what?
One thing to think about.
120 to 130.
If there's a $20,000 increase this year, and a $20,000 increase next year, one of the things you're gonna ask is, why? I mean, we're gonna have to go through the same thing again.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, in my opinion, it needs to be done, it's done right, and then forget.
Well, and I'm not trying to dispel the half year, but what you're saying is we're just too ashamed to say we gave you that rate, that salary adjustment. And that's just, I just.
No, I don't think that's it, Steve, because I'm not ashamed to say it one bit. I think they deserve it. But I'm just saying, as a city of Tomball, I can't see coming back and having this guy come to me next year and say, well, you know, we did this for the EDC. We're going to have to do it for everybody now. So no, it's not any of that stuff. That's what I'm worried about.
But why do we have to do it for everybody? The EDC and the city are.
Because you just got, I tell you what, Bill, you just got through saying you want to keep the employees you have.
We're different entities, Dane. The EDC.
No, you're not. You look at that chart, we're all on the same word chart.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, y'all get y'all's money through the tax dollars that the citizens spend in this town through this city.
Right.
And when you all figure out that you guys think that the TEDC is that much more important than the employees who are on the ground every day, day in, day out. And a lot of these young people are having a hard time to make it. When you're talking about them, I mean, they're not executives, and I understand, well, yeah, people go to college and this, and this. I did all that. That's fine. But I also was a city employee for 9 years of my tenure out here. And it sucks not being able to put food on the table or pay your rent or pay your electricity. Electricity bills right now, $800 for some people in our neighborhoods, $800. You take that out of a city employee's pocket. What about them? Why don't you have the same feelings about the people that are keeping your lights on, keeping your water pouring, keeping your gas flowing, protecting you in their police cars or in their fire apparatuses, or for the staff that run all those people? Why don't you have the same love for them that you do for the TEDC?
Well, I didn't say that I don't have the love for him, Derek. I never said that. What I said is I'm taking care of my employees, Derek. It's up to you. You're the city council. You go ahead and give your employees these pay raises then. Okay?
So we'll take the money out of the TEDC to do that. We've only got a pot so big, Bill. You can only spread it so many different ways.
We only have a pot so big too, Derek.
And it appears that the bigger portion of your pot you're wanting to turn towards your employees. And I don't have a problem with Kelly or any of the gals that work for the TEDC. It's just that we've been through this. We got to have a raise. We got to have a raise. We're going to lose them. We got to have a raise. We've been through this. I've been on council now 14 years, and we've been through this 3 or 4 times. And here we are again with a 39% increase in their salaries, Bill.
That's 1.5% of our budget, Derek, the increase we want to give them. 1.5% of our budget.
So I mean,
Okay.
I'm not worried about what portion of your budget it is. I'm talking about what people see, Bill. You and I understand that, but the people down below don't.
Did David just say he had to hire someone at over his threshold to get a good person? Derek, is that what we want to happen? Do we want, and no, Kelly has not looked like she's going to go anywhere. But do we want to have someone offer $200,000 and have her say, hey, I can't turn down a $70,000 a year raise. I'm gone. Now what do we do, Derek? That's our big question.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Bill. We're down a bunch of police officers right now, a whole bunch, because we can't get people willing to put on a badge, strap on a vest, and put a gun on their side to protect us. What do we do there? Do we offer those people $75,000 a year to start here with our police department?
If that's
because
what
I tell you what, my security and my home security and your business security is by far more important to me than bringing new business here, because we're already here living here paying taxes.
But if we don't bring the new business, you're not going to have the money that I mean, look at the industrial park, what we've done, Derek. I mean, all those businesses down there, all the stuff that's been built, the taxes that are being paid, you wouldn't have that money if the EDC didn't do that.
I understand all that, but you have to understand too that you've got people that have got to be able out there to support those businesses. Just because y'all sold that property and you've got those companies in here doesn't mean that we don't have the employees that are out there taking care of those businesses, making sure that their connections are working, their gas, their water, all that stuff has to be worked. So is the TEDC willing to put money up to help pay for our employees who are providing services for those businesses?
I don't think we can do that legally. I'm not a lawyer on that part, Derek. I don't know. I think that's the city's budget versus our budget.
Wait a minute, if you go to hire police, aren't you trying to hire them right now?
Yes.
Are you getting responses? And you're hiring them?
Yes, sir.
And you're hiring them for what you thought they would be a good job?
Well, they're coming out of the academy, so they start at the beginning stuff.
Oh, okay, they're not policemen coming from some other town or anything like that.
Some.
Because we're gonna have to close this meeting at 6 o'clock.
Oh,
So,
can we listen to Chad though?
yeah, so we will listen to this, but this will be the last we're going to be adjourning the meeting, calling back out of a session and just adjourning the meeting. Take no action.
I'm gonna say one thing, I can put on my city council hat. And my-
That's what I want.
I understand where you are coming from. The second thing is super important that EDC personnel feel good about whatever is approved. We definitely, I would rather compromise than have you guys feel like we were overrunning or we're gonna be super confident. Maybe there's a compromise that was put up that is not unreasonable, but I can tell you, they need our support on the way out, no matter what's decided. We need y'all to feel good about it, and we need to feel good about it. That's what I'm hoping.
All
That
right.
argument about city leadership.
Sorry. What was that, Steve? Okay,
I couldn't hear him either.
all right. We're now coming out of the, calling the,
Can we have, are we gonna be able to have a follow-up on this, or are we gonna have to take a vote tonight? Can we table it?
we don't have a vote. It's reconvene into regular session and take action if necessary on items discussed in executive session.
There is a.
And that's- There's an item on approval.
It's a budget.
Y'all got
The
a
problem with
Vote.
Budget.
us extending is our budget, we will not have a budget on.
It's October 1st is the year end, and so that does
Don't
give
mention
us, that gives us 8
mentions
weeks
it
to
with
get a
ours.
budget for y'all. So it's not that you won't have a budget. October 1st is when it's due. So, and it'll be tight. We're the same way. We just finished ours. Or we haven't been getting ready to finish. But,
Okay.
so do we want to take any action on this as a council? Or do we want to reschedule something, or do I have any
Are you-
recommendations?
Are y'all willing to compromise at all, Steve?
Guess I'd have to hear the number.
Okay, then let's,
You're a good man.
all right, then let's, take no action, and we will set up another workshop, executive workshop, to complete this really soon. Really soon.
Well, and we know which way things are going. We can bring documents and stuff
Please.
Right.
that we didn't really know we needed
Okay.
tonight. You know, it's kind of shot in the dark.
Okay.
Y'all responded really well, and I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate
because this is not we versus them.
No,
Just
it's
like
not.
Councilman Stoll said, it's time to be us.
Yeah,
not
and
we
they need
versus them.
adjustment.
That's gotta go.
They need an adjustment,
Okay,
not attitude.
all items. So make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
We
adjourn.
gotta adjourn ours first.
Okay,
Motion to
yes,
adjourn. Second,
okay,
all in favor?
okay. Motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Gretchen, you wanna-
Let's take a 5-minute break, and then council needs to come in.